What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Friday by my main man, Derek Bell. Find us on youtube.com/Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. We are 24 hours, just about, from the Steelers' first preseason game of the 2023 season. Football is officially back. It's as exciting as it comes these next 24 hours. The anticipation can't be any higher. Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, I don't think on the rise. I think quickly on the fall. So maybe a team that the Steelers could utilize to see really what they have here with this unit. It's a beautiful day in the Berg. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. I don't know, man. This is like Super Bowl week is how it feels. This is the last time I was so excited just because we have actual real football to talk about, to look forward to. So I'm really excited just to see actual real football in pads against another team, even though it's not, necessarily like a real game and there's only so much you can take from it. Really just excited to see them suit up. So less than 24 hours, man. I woke up in a really good mood. I'm off work tomorrow. I'm hyped. So
that's I do. Do you always take? Do you have like weird football traditions when it comes to taking off work? I've learned like the draft, first day of the draft is a no-go. Boss knows that at the interview process.
Yeah. Can't be there.
Can't be there. Like week 1, 2 is another one, I believe.
Yep.
And then luckily enough, you got the preseason game. So it's
well, that's a good thing. I have a decent amount of vacation time, so I could just kind of like burn days whenever I can. I remember I used to just tell them straight up, like, hey, when the schedule comes out, I'm not going to be there. The Steelers are playing. I'm not going to be there. So I've pretty much kept that tradition alive with very few exceptions. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch this team play, man. It should be a good one.
Yeah, it should definitely be a good one. I'm sure that we'll see a little bit of Kenny Pickett. I think that's where we have to start is these starters. Mike Tomlin says everybody who's healthy is going to play. I would imagine that does not include TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, Minka. I'm sure everybody comes up with a little hangnail or something tonight so that they are not healthy to go tomorrow morning. I'd probably add Isaac Seumalo and like DeMonte KZ, Keanu Neal on that list as well. The guys who will go, Kenny Pickett's the big one, obviously. How long do you expect Kenny out there? How long do you expect these starters out there? Do you think he actually runs with almost a full-fledged first-team offense?
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty close. You mentioned Seumalo. He's got some veteran days off through camp, so there's a chance that maybe they hold him out. But I do think that it would be a good thing for the starting offense in particular to get out there for a series or two. I don't think you want to see them do anything crazy. We don't need a Josh Jacobs situation where you got guys, important players playing into the fourth quarter of the Hall of Fame game, but I do think it's good for them to get out there and get some live bullets. So I'm really excited about that. I think that the group in general, even though there's a lot of returning players, there's also a lot of youth. So I think that there's value in, getting some experience against the Bucs team. I'm not really sure how many of their starters are going to play, but I do think the experience, getting the repetition, getting the timing down is always a good thing. So I would definitely... Yeah. I think it's going to be probably a series or two, and that's exactly what I would prefer as well, about 2 series for the starting offense, just to get a look at everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 series is good. You don't got to rush it or take some chances after that, especially with guys like Najee Harris. I wouldn't be surprised if Najee only plays the first series and then kind of moves on from there. And I think maybe a guy like Deontay is probably the same way, probably Allen Robinson as well. But for the most part, I'd say, 2 series, see what you got, let Kenny Pickett work with some guys. But at the same time, I think you could replace a guy like Allen Robinson and Deontay with, Calvin Austin, Connor Hayward, other guys that he'll have to get accustomed to during this preseason process. So I think that does work out well. But Kenny, all eyes will be on Kenny. I'll say this. From what I've seen in training camp, it's been and we talked about this last week, it's been a very not disappointing at all. He's never had a negative day, but very in the middle with some spikes kind of performance. I'm very excited to see 2 drives, put the pads on, get the momentum flowing, summer of workouts with your starters. What can you pull off in 2 drives? How quickly can you get momentum going, which has been a big deal for the Steelers the last 3 or 4 years of haven't been able to get things rolling. I want to see that happen in 2 series. I'm very excited about those ones. Got to get to Michael's question here. Appreciate you and appreciate your support for my boy DB. We'll get to that at the end, obviously, but
appreciate
slash position group you want to see on Friday night? What is your top? Well, we'll say position group because we are going to get into players to watch and players who need big games. So what is your position group that you are most likely looking forward to?
Man, that's difficult because I think there's at least like one guy in every group that I'm really kind of going to be eyeballing heavy once the pads come on. I think that the defensive line group is a group that
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to seeing. I think that I've seen some good reports out of Isaiah Loudermilk over the past couple of days. It seems like maybe he's had a nice couple practices. He's a guy who, in my opinion, is definitely on the he's on the bubble. He needs a really strong preseason to probably continue to make the roster. I think that one of the absolute best players or top players that I'm looking forward to watching is DeMarvin Leal. I want to see something from him. I thought that he flashed a little bit in preseason last year, and then when he got the chance to play, they were moving him all over the front. I want to see where they're playing him at. Like, what's his
Yeah.
alignment like? What are they asking him to do? Is it more traditional hand in the dirt stuff? Are they still asking him to play some edge? And I want to see a pass rush plan. That pretty much disappeared after the preseason last year. He was going through some weight changes, putting on weight, that he got hurt. So I just want to see something from that group. So I would say like Leal's at the very top of my list on who I'm looking forward to seeing the most. So I would say the defensive line.
Defensive line's a good one. DeMarvin Leal's a good one too. I think the defensive line is as difficult as it comes to find somebody that you need to cut once those cuts actually happen, because I think everybody's look good. And guys who surprised me, like Montravius Adams, has certainly played himself into contention to remain on this roster. Braden Fajoko is a dude who shined every day. Armon Watts is a dude who's had good camps. Even Isaiah Loudermilk, impressive. So I think that that group is very difficult to decide which one is the odd man out.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's going to be the inside linebackers, sticking with the defense. I think Cole Holcomb has looked good. Quan Alexander has looked really good in the run game, spotty in the coverage game, which is the exact opposite of what the Steelers brought him in to do. I want to see how that translates to a game. Landon Roberts is a dude that I hope Landon Roberts plays. I pray.
Oh, he's going to put somebody in a body bag.
Body bag, bro. Body bag. Steelers fans are going to love this guy. Once he lays out one human being, he will immediately be a fan favorite to he's already mine. And the best part about it is I asked him the other day, I said, because Jaylen Warren laid him out one time on Backs on Backers and then stood over him and flexed. And I was like, oh, okay. And I asked him about it. And I very subtly, I was like, hey, is there anybody on the other side of the ball who's impressed you in Backs on Backers? And he's like, I like that Jaylen kid. And he's like, I would never fight anybody on my own team. I'm all about that. He's like, but that other team, nobody's going to do that to me. Nobody's going to get the best of me like that. He's like, that's my fastball, and I'm going to throw my fastball all I could. And I think that he hits one human being, and it's going to be a great time.
I think one of the phrases that I used when they were bringing in some of the free agents, a Landon, Keanu Neal, and I think the same applies to Quan Alexander too. Like, if you watch their tape, all three of those guys, they're looking to hurt people. And that's, I think that getting back to some of that physical kind of violent identity on defense, it seems like it was a little more of a priority this offseason, or maybe that's just how it worked out. I don't know. But all three of those guys, are absolutely 100%. They're hitters, man. And I think that's going to make it fun. You mentioned Quan being a little up and down. I've always thought that Quan was a little bit inconsistent play to play, but he makes enough flashes, and it maybe doesn't show up in the box score, but he'll make some big hits. He'll make some really interesting TFLs and stuff like that. I do agree that people might be a little bit frustrated with him from time to time, but the inside linebacker group, that's a good one to watch. I mean, they're definitely still going to be sorting out the roles, who's going to be taking what responsibility, different formations, different packages. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. And I think there's some other guys, and that's a good transition here is to players to watch. We head into Friday night. I think that guys like the safeties, the corners, some of these young guys are going to get opportunities. Just like you said, the defensive line, DeMarvin Leal is your guy to watch. Who else are you looking at heading into Friday night saying I'm hoping for a big game, or just I believe that game one determines a lot about this guy moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the safeties. I think we can start with the defense. With Neal and KZ being so banged up, like you said earlier, I don't think Minka Fitzpatrick plays very much at all, if even if he does have a helmet. So, I mean, it's going to give some opportunities to a guy like Kenny Robinson, and Kenny Robinson,
Yes, sir.
multiple interceptions already through camp, has made some splash plays. Sounds like he's been talking some trash while he's been doing it too. So.
Lots of trash.
Um, that's a good way to get on the roster. We know how important those turnovers are to the Steelers' defense. Believe they led the NFL in interceptions last year too. So,
Hmm.
um, being a ball hawk, that's important. Special teams always really important. Trey Norwood. I know the big thing with Trey has been there are some athletic limitations and he's not the greatest tackler. So whenever he's on the field, I'm looking for, is he reliable as a tackler? Because that's something that you absolutely have to have if you're a part of that kind of last line of defense. So, the safeties, that's a good point to start at. The corners, a little bit less interesting now with Trice gone, because I was really looking forward to getting to see him play. I know Joey
I
Porter
know.
Jr. didn't practice yesterday. Some people saying,
He practiced, so he did practice. It
okay,
was he at one point he stopped practicing, not totally sure why or when, because we didn't get to talk to Mike Tomlin after
okay.
practice. But he did start the day. But he's dealing with it. I believe it's an ankle injury.
Okay, so I don't know if we'll see him either. That was obviously a very important piece that we wanted to watch.
Yes.
Just all the rookies in general, but that's going to give some playing time, to James Pierre. I do want to see a little bit from Patrick Peterson. Just
Yeah.
mainly,
Do you think he gets on the field?
I hope so. I just want to see how they're going to use him. I'm sure that they're not going to unveil, everything, because everything's going to be so vanilla. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But
Yeah.
I am interested to see, just where his usage is.
Yeah, I agree. So my thing, I think at this point, I'm at least to myself convinced that Elijah Riley and Shannon Sullivan have played Patrick Peterson out of the slot, which is good.
Okay.
Like I think that's a good thing. I think they both look so impressive that you could actually have two, like my 53-man roster. My next one will drop after the game, and unless somebody totally just like has an awful game between those two, I might put both of them on the 53-man roster because they've looked really good. But I agree. I hope Patrick Peterson takes steps on the field. I hope Joey Porter Jr. steps on the field at least a little bit. That would be awesome. Because I want to see Joey Porter go up against somebody else who's not George Pickens too, just to see like, yeah, because
Just to
at
give
some
him a
point,
break.
yeah, like at some point you're just sitting there just going like, all right, man, like I get it. Like this is a great idea, but like could you let him win one? Like could we see Joey Porter do something really good once in a while against good talent? So I'm excited to see that one. I hope they play. Kenny Robinson's definitely one of my guys to watch. That dude, he does, man. He talks so much trash. It's crazy. He is always yapping. Which I love. I don't not love that at all. The other ones offensively, want to see Calvin Austin. That's I think my biggest one on offense is what is Calvin Austin going to bring first NFL game. I expect him to, those juices are going to be high, and I think that the Steelers are going to give him plenty of opportunities to kind of like make that first game statement. I think that'll be a priority for them. And then Anthony McFarland and Jalen Warren, I think, will take the bulk of the carries. I want to see what Ant Mac has in him this year because I think he does. I think he looks a lot better than years past. And even in that indie game, I think he looks better from there because I think the game has just slowed down for him so much.
Yeah, the division of labor on who gets the carries after Jalen Warren is going to be interesting to see too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned Calvin Austin, man. That's one of the top guys that I'm looking forward to seeing as well. Just I want to see some splash plays.
Yes.
Austin, that's something that he's done a lot in camp, just from reports that I've seen. But Calvin can stretch the field. You can get him the ball underneath, kind of create those explosive plays after the catch as well. So I want to see what he looks like. I also just want to make sure that he's healthy. I want him to escape the preseason healthy. That's the big thing for me, just like everybody else. But yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm curious on when Darnell Washington is going to come in the game. I don't buy
Yes.
into any depth chart talk at all until week 1 gets here. Him listed as tight end 4 on the depth chart is kind of funny though. But
I think that he might. That's so hard.
do you think he's going to come into the game in the fourth quarter with
No,
all
like
the
I
four
think
stringers?
I think all 4 of them are going to come in during the first quarter. Like I would expect all 4 of them to take first team reps, like
Yeah.
with Kenny out there, just because that's how. Like I've never seen a tight end room with 4 starters, and the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow have created a tight end room with 4 guys that they want to start on top of 6 wide receivers that are actually pretty quality guys. So, but the fourth, no. But Rodney Williams, Rodney Williams is taking over in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Dude, he had 2 touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see Washington. I want to see him block, man. I just need it. I need it. But I'm excited about that. Obviously, the offensive line. You want to see some chemistry. I know the offensive line was a really big hot topic for the last couple of years, but in particular last year in the preseason. Because if y'all remember that Jags game last year, they did not play well at all in pass protection. So, seeing how that group develops and how they pass off, you're not going to get a ton of exotic blitzes, but you will probably see some simulated pressure, some creepers. So I want to see how they pass that stuff off. Broderick Jones, that's going to be a good one as well. So I'm curious on who Tampa Bay is going to play up front. That's going to be interesting to see too.
Yeah, me too. I kind of wish Kalijah Cansey was getting a helmet. That would have been cool to see, because I for 2 reasons. One, I want to see like how the Steelers offensive line can handle a first-round talent like that, and I think Cansey's good. But also, it would be cool to see like Kenny and Cansey kind of like talk a little smack, do their thing. I am very excited about the offensive line. When do you think Broderick Jones? You think he gets any first-team reps? Or you think he's strictly once Dan Moore goes out, he's in with the second teamers?
I would really like to see them give Moore the first series or 2, assuming he's going to be the starter, because that's how it's listed right now too. But give him the first series or 2, and then flip him to right, and then have both of them play. Have Jones on the left side and have Moore on the right side, and then heck, you can let Broderick take 3-4 series, and then let Moore take a series or 2, and then rotate him out. So that would be the best case scenario for me. Who knows if it plays out like that? But that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think that would be awesome too. Just because I want to see what Moore could bring in an actual game setting. I think he struggled at the right side just in camp, but I also think that
he's playing backwards.
Yeah, he's playing backwards, and you get 1 rep. It's like it's different in a game. It's just like, okay, this is difficult, but I'm just gonna punch this guy as hard as I can and see if you know what I mean? Like when you're going up against Marcus Golden and TJ Watt, like it's very difficult to say I'm going to win these reps, even though I just played 7-8 reps on the other side, and now I suddenly have to make the change. Yeah, I agree. Shout out Smitty, man. He's having a great time in the comments. Appreciate you. All right, players to watch. Went through players who need a big game, I think, is the next part of this conversation that needs to be had. There are many guys fighting for roster spots and position battles pretty much everywhere. Chandon Sullivan and Elijah Riley are my favorite 2 so far, I think. You got guys that you believe need a big and impressive game in Tampa Bay to kind of either solidify themselves, give themselves a chance, or to boost their role on this team and possibly win a position battle.
Yeah, I think the conversation there has got to start with Sullivan and Riley. Duke Dawson is another name there.
Yeah.
If he's going to play, or how much burn he gets, because we've talked about this throughout the summer, but even if Peterson does rotate in the slot, we don't anticipate him playing there full time. So that's going to be a conversation of they're going to have another guy to kind of mix and match. Ideally, somebody that can play there on early downs. And things like that. So I don't know who that player is right now. It sounds like that Tomlin's done a good job kind of mixing and matching those guys to see what sticks. And I think the preseason is going to be no different. I wouldn't be surprised if like 6 guys got reps at slot corner tomorrow night. And I think that's a good thing, just to kind of see what the best option is. So Sullivan is a guy, I feel like his camp's been relatively quiet, for better or worse. I haven't heard a ton about him. I know Elijah Riley made some plays earlier in camp as well. Duke Dawson, we haven't seen hardly any of him
he's faded out
as a professional football player, just because he hasn't been healthy. So those 3 guys, if you talk about guys that are on the end of the roster or looking for, to carve out roles for themselves, those are at the very top of the list for me.
Yeah, I agree. Duke Dawson, I think, is kind of faded out in this competition. I think he's still got an opportunity, but Chandon Sullivan's made some nice plays. He's also had some times where it's been but I think lately he's been the most impressive of the 3 last week. Before that, Elijah Riley was making all the plays, and I still think he continues to make plays. Like, that's why I think both of them are kind of neck and neck. Like, it's a very good competition, but I do want to see both of them. I think they complement each other differently. Like, Chandon Sullivan isn't the greatest coverage guy, neither is Elijah Riley, but Sullivan's more reliable in coverage, I would believe, than Riley. And Riley off the edge, man, is just exciting to watch because this dude's physical. He knows how to time a snap. He's just that's what he thrives with. And I am excited to see him get to a quarterback in live game action. That's the biggest one for sure. I would say the bottom of the wide receiver group is another one for me. Gunnar Olszewski, I think, has a really good opportunity to remain on this roster. So does Miles Boykin. Cody White's been making all the noise. That dude's got the most reliable hands maybe in the NFL. Like, I don't know, this Justin Jefferson guy is pretty good. Jamar Chase is pretty good. T. Higgins, George Pickens.
But
Cody
let
White,
me tell you about Cody White.
Let me tell you about Cody White, dude. That dude they just catches everything. He catches everything. So I think I want to see those guys. I want to see Akeem Butler, see if he can bounce back after just like really inconsistent play the last 2 weeks at camp. Jordan Byrd has gotten almost no opportunity. Can he do something? I just think that the bottom of that depth chart right now is just Miles Boykin and Gunnar Olszewski, but I don't think that everybody else has really had a fair opportunity to kind of make a splash, and I think that'll allow them this game. Des Fitzpatrick's another one. So those are that offensively, I think that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've already talked a little bit about Calvin Austin too, and not that he's really on necessarily the bubble or anything like that, provided he's healthy. But I would almost like you mentioned getting Gunner snaps, and Cody White. Cody White's played a little bit of big slot in the past too. So I would like to get Calvin just a ton of burn, and you can kind of start him out in the slot, with that first kind of group, especially if A-Rob doesn't play very much. And then I would almost shift him outside and rotate the rest of these guys in around him. So give Calvin some inside and outside exposure and see what he does with it. That's the thing too with Gunner in particularly. We know that he's a pure slot receiver, and he's had times over the past 2 summers where he's looked really good. But we know Allen Robinson's going to play the vast majority of his snaps in the slot just at this stage of his career. We assume that Calvin Austin, because of his size, is going to get a good amount of snaps in there as well. Do you need that third, like, pure slot receiver on the roster, especially if you're not going to contribute on special teams? Like, because it looks like this is Calvin's job to lose, really, as the punt and kick returner. So how does he get a helmet on game day is my question.
I agree. I don't think he does. Like, I think Gunner, if he makes the roster, which I think is an argument for and against him, like, he doesn't have a purpose on most game days, but you got to make 3 guys inactive most weeks anyways. So that maybe like just makes it easy. At the same time, who would be the backup punt returner if Calvin goes down? It's just Gunner. Like, that's your other option.
I mean, you'd have to figure,
you have to figure out if it's not Gunner. So I think that kind of gives him a bit of an upper hand of just like, there is a path. A lot of these guys like Hakeem Butler has a tough path. Cody White has a tough path. Des Fitzpatrick has a really tough path just because he's pretty one-dimensional, just a wide receiver. But Jordan Byrd is a guy that doesn't do much in the receiving game, but has a path because he could be a punt returner. I think Gunner's the same thing, just because you need a backup, even if they don't dress on Sundays. But I can, and my thing with this one, because people do bring this up a lot, Deontay Johnson, I don't think they want Deontay back there. I don't think they want to take that risk, especially with special teams value kind of going down these days. I just think that they look at Deontay as a guy that they'd like to keep healthy and on offense, and they don't want him to return punts, and they'd rather have somebody else do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that too. I mean, I think McFarland's going to get a chance to return some kicks as well.
Yeah, he's a kick returner.
So we talk about, guys that could potentially carve out a role. Can McFarland's, RB3 status be kind of cemented with, some reliable play, not just as a running back, but also showing that he can be relied upon as a kick returner. So, those are definitely into the roster type guys that I think it's worth keeping an eye on. Yeah. I see a lot of Nick Herbig.
I was going to say Nick Herbig's another one.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see him, man. You talk about a guy that would really need they're so low. The Steelers are so loaded up front, right? Like, they're legitimately 6-7 deep. And I don't know that very many NFL defenses can say that. I'm very bullish on the front of this defense, especially the pass rush. So I don't know if there's going to be a role there for Nick Herbig, but I really want to see if he can just carve one out anyways. Maybe
Yeah.
as a situational rusher, even if it's a couple snaps a game. So yeah, Herbig's going to be a guy that I'm going to really be paying attention to. I want to see how he plays the run, but I also want to see him go against some offensive tackles that aren't the Steelers' offensive tackles. I know he started
Yes.
off camp really well. So I'm interested to see him, in live action, because that dude's first step is crazy. I mean, he's really good at the top of the rush, can really get off the ball. I'm excited about seeing that.
No, Nick Herbig's a dude that I am so excited to see, because two things. One, I want to see Nick Herbig get to a quarterback, because right now in training camp practice,
You
like,
can't
you get
touch
to a
him.
backfield. Yeah, you just kind of stop. So you get back there and you're just chilling. That is crazy. 96 and
Yeah,
feeling
my
like
guy Dave
113.
putting on.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow.
Better drink some water, my brother.
Yeah, for real, dude. Hydrate. Anybody going down, hydrate. But Nick Herbig's a dude that, yeah, once you get back there, you just kind of have to stop. So it's boring. In a real game, I want to see him finish shedding a block. I want to see if that first step is enough. I want to see if the length issues are real. And there's another part of this. I want to see Marcus Golden play, because I'm not totally convinced that Marcus Golden is better than Nick Herbig right now. And I'm not trying to stir controversy or start the Nick Herbig over Marcus Golden train. I'm just being real. I don't think Marcus Golden has really made much noise at training camp. He's coming off a 2.5 sack season. I get he had 20 pressures, but I mean, you're 32 years old, turning 33. Yeah, I want to see how much juice you have left in you. And if the rookie is for real, he's a 4th-round pick. You got to remember, Alex Highsmith was a 3rd-round pick, and his rookie year, he contributed and made solid contributions. So it's not unheard of to think that Nick Herbig could be that guy behind TJ and Alex.
Yeah, I'm just going back to my point about just how bullish I am about the Steelers pass rush. I mean, I look at this, and obviously you've got the 3 kind of stars with Watt, Hayward, and Highsmith. But, when guys that have flashed, not just games, but like long stretches of really high level play, such as Larry Ogunjobi, Marcus Golden, are your 4th and 5th best pass rushers, I get pretty excited about that. And then when you throw in the youth there, not just with Nick Herbig, but also Keanu Benton, I'm interested to see, is he going to get reps at both nose tackle and defensive end? I'm interested to see, just how much they allow him to play across the front, or if he's kind of just pigeonholed into that, zero tech alignment. So, but yeah, I mean, you talk about being 5-6 deep and then throwing 2 rookies in there from a Wisconsin defense that was pretty damn good last year.
Yeah.
Once again, I think that's just absolutely absurd. It's going to be fun to watch, man, once the real football starts.
Yeah, 100%. All right, just want to answer these 2 real quick. What side do they have Herbig out most of the time? I honestly want to say the right side, but I think he's obviously played both during training camp. But I want to say I've seen him more on the right side than the left, not 100%. And has Nick Herbig taken coverage reps at outside linebacker? I mean, everybody has, but more times than not, the Steelers outside linebackers aren't leaned on to do that. So it's not, if you're asking as he backed into like an off-ball linebacker, no, he's played 0% at off-ball linebacker at training camp. He is an edge rusher, and they want to keep him there. So we'll see what happens there. All right, next, I think last thing I got for us, players you're most excited for. This is obviously, you brought up Patrick Peterson. You talked about how you want to see DeMarvin Leal. The guy that you are just like, man, I cannot wait to see this guy in pads for the first time. Grind your teeth a little bit as you say it. You know what I mean? It's like petting a dog and getting a little too anxious.
Yeah, I would have to go with some of the rookies. So if you could tell me that Porter was going to play, that's one. So when I get the film on, Saturday or whatever, I'll be going through literally every single rep that he takes. If you can promise me that he's going to play, I just want to see how far he's been able to come technique wise and footwork wise in the 6 months or whatever. I guess it's not 6 months, 4 months that they've had him. But we haven't really seen him play like a real game since January ish. So I want to see that Broderick Jones. I mean, his development is very crucial for the Steelers' future. I mean, there's no hiding that. They traded up for what they hope is a franchise left tackle. And I know it's really easy to say, you look at offensive tackles that get taken in round one, those guys pretty much always play as rookies. It's just a matter of when. So we know Broderick Jones is going to play sooner rather than later, but I think they have to have a baseline of reliability and trust in him and pass protection, because
Yes.
obviously they also think Kenny Pickett is the franchise quarterback of the future. They're not going to throw you out there, brother, unless they trust you to protect the franchise quarterback in the
True.
pocket. So, I would just say the rookies in general. I don't want to specify with any of them, but I think that, I'll be very, very paying closely attention to all those guys.
Yeah, the rookies are good ones for me. I'm going to toss Calvin Austin in there too as a rookie, just because this is his first time. I think the guys I'm most excited to see might be the offensive line. And I know that is the most boring answer possible, but I think that makes or breaks like so much of what we've talked about. If the offensive line goes out there and stinks, then we have a whole new conversation. The conversation goes from like all the good things about the Pittsburgh Steelers to, okay, this team's not going to do as well as we anticipated them doing because their offensive line still sucks. If the offensive line's real good, I mean, the expectations of the Pittsburgh Steelers immediately go up. So I'm very excited for that. I'm a big in the trenches type of football guy too. So I'm all about seeing these big guys. And like, it's been a long time since you've like got to watch a Steelers football game and almost ignore the offensive line. Like you could
I
just
think that's
watch it
the
and focus
hope,
on everybody
right? That
else.
they're
Yeah.
that they're like average to above average this year, and that'll be a massive improvement over where they were just like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could just sit around and just go, oh, you want to haven't noticed Kenny Pickett getting sacked all the time or Najee Harris running for 1 yard before he gets hit. I'm very excited for the offensive line, defensive line, I think too, but man, that offensive line it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I do want to answer this because we're getting a couple of questions on this one. Isaiah Loudermilk playing outside linebacker reps. I don't know where this report's come from. I haven't seen him play any outside linebacker reps. Maybe I missed something. So, have you seen anything?
I haven't seen anything on social media. I have seen people like talk about it though the past couple of days.
Yeah, Isaiah Loudermilk.
But I go back to what I just said. I don't. Do they need an edge? I mean,
They don't need an edge.
they have three really, really proven veteran guys. They drafted Nick Herbig. We know that Leal at least has some functionality out there as a tweener.
The report's coming out of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not.
Yeah.
The more you can do, right? I am very interested in, same thing that I kind of said about Leal. I want to see them kind of find a home for him. I don't think that necessarily playing multiple spots all the time is the greatest thing for young players. I know I've given that rant on here a lot. So I want to see them find a home for him, whether that is at defensive end, whether that's at edge, whatever that entails. I want to see some, some type of plan with him. And I think that Loudermilk, as an end of the roster type of guy, he's a guy that needs a good preseason showing, regardless if that's at defensive end or edge, maybe too. So
yeah, I guess maybe. I agree with you though. Like I want to see a plan. I want to see him. I think Isaiah's developed like nicely playing behind Cam during this camp. I've noticed a lot of plays where I've thought, oh, okay, there's Isaiah Loudermilk in the backfield. Looks very good. And I think he's gotten bigger. I also think that the storylines have been down around him, as in last year they were kind of high. So I think that always helps guys, ease the pressure. But I think it's good for guys to have pressure to understand that they have to make the rosters, so they have to improve without the media constantly asking them about where they are, And I think DeMarvin Leal's in that bubble now that Isaiah Loudermilk was a year ago. And I think that actually helps Isaiah.
Just one more thing about Leal, because I know we talked about him a bunch, but Leal's development might not be the most important thing for the Steelers defense this year because of all the other pieces that they have. Cam Hayward's still playing at a really high level. We expect to see a better version of Larry Ogunjobi now that he's healthy and hopefully can even make it through practices this year, without dealing with those nagging injuries. So it's not like there's this huge 60, 70% snap share that's available for him, even if he plays well. I think that the big thing is figuring out what does Leal look like for the future? Because Cam Hayward
Yeah.
can't play forever. He's 34 years old. He's kind of already beating father time to death right now. Anyways, Leal was kind of that guy that we kind of thought could be the heir apparent at that spot, if everything worked out perfectly. So I think that his development is really important, more so for the future than the short term. But
I agree. All right, we got to get to one question here. Our boy Epic Sports has made us very aware that he's interested in this one. Appreciate you. What's your thoughts on Kenny starting tomorrow? We talked about this, I think, pretty in depth earlier in the pod, but just to give a little rundown, I think the general overview is excitement. Like I'm excited to see what Kenny Pickett can do immediately in limited drives and limited opportunities with a new offense. And I think just to bring the whole podcast full circle here, I want to see him behind an offensive line that we have higher expectations for, with a running game that should be good, with more weapons than he had last season, much more weapons than he had last season. And I just think against a Tampa Bay team that's pretty bad, this is where we are. Let's start off hot and let's build this momentum right from the jump.
Yeah, I think it's always a good thing, for the quarterbacks to get live reps, because there's only so much that you're really going to be, I guess, able to tell from training camp when, those guys aren't allowed to get hit. And obviously you don't want, like you said, behind a revamped offensive line, you don't want Kenny going out there and taking a bunch of shots. We don't want we don't want a Jacksonville performance from last preseason where the offensive line looks terrible and the quarterback's just running for his life. But I do think there's value in playing against a front that has the option to hit you, because I think that's where you tell a lot about like how a quarterback's going to play on Sundays when the real football kind of starts. So,
yes.
I think the big thing for me, excited to see Kenny, how different things look from year 1 to year 2. I think that there's more value in the 5-6 series that we might see from Kenny in these preseason games than really what you get from training camp. I know I gave that take last week, but I think there's going to be a lot that we can take away. I think the biggest thing for me, and I'll just go back to it, the thing that I want to see Kenny improve on the most is just pocket management. I want to see him step up in the pocket. I want to see less bailing on clean pockets. I want to see him kind of win more a little bit within structure and with anticipation, rather than, all this scrambling and stuff that he had a tendency to kind of resort to sometimes out of necessity, honestly, because of some of the offensive line play at times last season. So, but yeah, I want to see how that works out. But I do agree with the fact that he should play. This was a bad offense last year. For the majority of it, they played better down the stretch, but this was a below average offense to bad offense overall. And I think you got to get these guys. You got to get these guys reps, man. That's the only way to compete in today's NFL is to have a very good offense. And I think that everyone here is probably lying if they're very confident that this unit's going to be very good this year. We need to see some significant progress, but I'm excited about, seeing the process.
No, I agree. That's where I stand with Kenny. I'm more wait and see type of thing with some excitement, but no expectations, I think is where I stand. And with that, we head to Friday, Steelers' first preseason game. Plenty of excitement, plenty to look forward to, plenty to look back on. 90 guys looking to make a 53-man roster. Journey started at training camp, and I think it takes a pretty significant step forward in Tampa Bay tomorrow night. With that, we're heading out, but I got to give you the floor here for a second, my friend, as you say goodbye to, I guess, all Steelers talk, not Steelers Nation, but all Steelers talk for the last time. A very, very sad moment, I think.
Yeah, no, I just want to, again, I'm not going to go through the whole spiel like I did last week with the whole announcement thing, but just kind of reiterating what I said last week. I mean, me and Noah were streaming to 2 people doing a Steelers Broncos show like 2 years ago. And now I'm looking at the top left corner and there's 235 people in the chat. I mean, it's unreal to see the growth of the site, the growth of the channel. I am very, very, very grateful for all the support. Anyone who's read my work, watched, hit me on Twitter, all that stuff is greatly appreciated. So, and I really appreciate you guys as well. Like, it's always fun interacting with you all on social media. So again, thank you guys. Continue to please support the channel. Make sure, I'll be in here in the comment section. So I'm sure y'all will see, y'all see me pop in from time to time. So again, thank you guys very much.
I don't know if I'm ready to see you pop in the comments. I might get a little sad when I see those. I'll keep it short and simple too. I just want to say thank you, my dude. You know, I appreciate you. This podcast is my favorite thing to do. It brings me so much joy, and you know, we're not here without you. You know what I mean? Like this was a team effort, and I can never thank you enough for that. And I'm actually very excited. Just like I said last week, like I'm not necessarily sad because you know this is so deserved. So I'm just grateful that you know big things come for people who deserve them, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So appreciate you, my guy. With that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Check out all of our work at allsteelers.com. Go subscribe right now. No hesitations to Derek's YouTube channel, youtube.com/Steelers at Steelers_DB. I get that wrong every time. youtube.com/@Steelers_DB. We appreciate you. I will be back for a live stream on Saturday to recap Friday's game, answer all your questions as we go through them. Enjoy Steelers' first preseason game of the 2023 season.